Today we're going to talk about combat. It seems there was a lot of feedback that most combat experiences were too similar. If we do it the same way, can we really create our own unique style? The process must be prominently featured in our game.
Our goal is to achieve really heavy combat. It was a little difficult to fine-tune this part.
Hello, I'm Sakun, the executive producer of Legend of YMIR.
Hello, my name is Kim Sung-hee and I am the director for Legend of YMIR.
Looking at public opinion on MMORPG combat, it seems there's a lot of feedback that most combat is too similar. Existing MMORPG, from our view, always had speed-focused combat. They show incredibly fast combat. We wondered, if we copy that, could we truly make our own identity? In addition, the Norse mythology concept itself evokes a certain rough and rugged feeling. So we decided that to deliver a more masculine, heavy and deliberate style of combat, the speed couldn't be too fast. But we still had to make sure there was a good sense of impact. So back to MMORPG, we frequently do mob hunting and area attacks in MMOS, right? We decided to approach it that way.
Another point was, when attacking a target right in front, I'd clearly swing something, yet only the one directly ahead would be hit, and not the one beside it. That aspect itself appeared rather obvious. So for us, we focused on the actual trajectory of the attack, rather than a generic area. We then set a suitable standard based on that trajectory, and began implementing area of effect attacks.
While area of effect is the counterpart to single target attacks, the counterpart to the keyword speed is process. What I mean is, if it's too fast, can you show the process? For example, the opponent who is supposed to have a reaction doesn't even have time to react. Because before I can even react, I'm going to get hit by the next attack. So we asked, is this the only way for an MMO? That's why the process has to be clearly visible in our game.
But to explain a bit more, it's not that we completely ignored speed. Speed is important too, of course. If the speed is too slow, it can get a little frustrating for the users, right? So we deliberated a lot on this, even having some conflicting opinions. We're aiming for a heavy combat feel, but if the speed is too high, the actions invariably become less impactful. Finding the right balance between that lightness and frustration took a while. That part was tough.
But even a 0.1 change in the numbers can completely alter the feel, you know? So I think it took us quite some time to find that sweet spot. That's why we also put a lot of thought into the target being hit. In other speed-focused MMORPG, you're busy hitting. The one hit has no role.
To elaborate, I believe that the sense of impact in combat isn't just about how an attacker lands a hit, but more importantly, how the one being hit reacts to that blow. This is key to showcasing a diverse range of reactions. We structured it so that by combining the attacker's action and movement with the recipient's reaction and movement, it could be displayed in a very diverse and colorful way. So, to achieve these effects, we utilized motion capture technology. During the motion capture process, we significantly prioritized the intermediate connecting motion, known as the bridge animation, along with the follow-up action and acceleration. We held extensive discussions with the motion capture actors to fully maximize these specific elements.
I recall that when director Kim Sung-hee first brought up the idea of finisher moves, I responded with, okay, let's go for it.
When we first considered the finisher moves, our intent was for them to provide a decisive conclusion, interrupting the flow to signify an enemy's defeat. However, as an MMORPG, we anticipated that players might perceive this differently. If I execute a finisher move while other players are still hunting and my gameplay time freezes, I would feel like I'm at a disadvantage.
This is quite important because while we do emphasize action, we are after all an MMORPG. If we were an action RPG, we could just focus on action. But in an MMORPG, efficiency is key. So if the action looks cool but hurts efficiency, it can be seen as a negative.
Right. To maintain the sustainability of hunting and the continuous nature of combat, we additionally incorporated buffs and similar elements into the finisher moves to reinforce them. So when players execute finisher moves, it's not just a cinematic. We designed it so they can strategically use these finishers to sustain their hunting efforts and truly experience an increase in strength.
These days, mobile and PC cross-platform MMORPG generally support auto combat, right? So if we're talking about auto combat, it means there will be many situations where I'll just be watching my character fight. So we thought it was important for that viewing experience to be engaging.
To elevate the immersion in combat and achieve a more lifelike presentation, we extensively employed diverse camera directions, each specifically crafted for various gameplay situations.
To see the combat, we needed to figure out how to showcase the action as it unfolds. and we identified the camera as the starting point. Everything changes with the camera.
Just like with the art, we continuously emphasize the process in combat, and I believed it was crucial for these details to be clearly visible. So we considered what kind of camera would truly allow users to experience that and become fully immersed. We thought a lot about that, and to express those details we looked at existing console action games and their cameras, and we also referenced a lot of MMORPG cameras. The reason is, our game isn't purely an action game, so watching for a long time can get tiring, especially with the camera. So we thought a lot about what the best way to present it would be.
And there are times you need to take control yourself, right? Then I'd want the satisfaction of control. So there are two flavors, watching and controlling. We tried to design the combat in a way that captures both of those aspects.
To get the right control feel, you absolutely need a different kind of judgment system. With a post-judgment system, when you attack, the system first checks if the hit connected. If it did, the damage calculation starts from there. This allows you to see the process and dodge accordingly. But the most important thing is synchronization. Because if server-client synchronization is off, you'll think, I dodged but got hit. Dealing with that particular aspect can be considerably more intricate compared to a pre-judgment system. That's essentially how it works.
This is all interconnected. If we had adopted faster combat, we might not have been able to implement this judgment system. It could have been quite meaningless too. Because whether I dodge or not, the judgment would have already happened instantly. And if it didn't, the player might feel a disconnect between the fast speed and the actual judgment. Because we've suitably presented our distinct attack speed and process, the post-judgment system can work clearly, and it also provides users with ample time to interact and react.
Certainly, we can still incorporate control elements even if we implement a pre-judgment system. There are methods where, for instance, a dodge is presumed successful when you execute it, but we aim to present animations in a more dynamic fashion.
And if we committed to a post-judgment system, I felt we needed supporting systems to fully utilize it.
With dodge, you are, as the name suggests, simply avoiding an attack. In our game, users aren't just limited to dodging backward. They can actually dodge in any direction they want. If you dodge forward, it can even be utilized as a kind of dash skill. Regarding the dash skill, some of our skills incorporate crowd control or combo functionalities. The primary purpose of the dash skill is to help escape those crowd control effects. And since these two functions are provided as control elements, we don't offer them in auto-progression or similar automated features.
Some players might genuinely need an autoplay option. I believe we shouldn't disregard that. And some people might place importance on the enjoyment of direct control and the processes through which reactions and outcomes vary. I just believed it would be perfectly acceptable as long as these two distinctions are clear.
To elaborate a bit further, when you're just progressing through the story or using the autoplay function, as I mentioned, the importance of player control isn't particularly high. We're planning to offer separate content where control elements are the main focus.
But some of what we're discussing now should really be featured in the next segment on progression. So regarding that, let's just discuss it up to this point, and for today, let's concentrate on the combat aspect.
Let's do that. Oh, and there's an element that really adds a dynamic quality to each character's combat. That element, of course, is the skills. And it's not just about the skills themselves, but how they change as they level up.
Regarding skill progression, which we constantly emphasize as a crucial part of combat in an MMORPG, it's separate from your combat style or the direct experience of battle. One of the most significant ways players feel their character has leveled up and grown stronger is when they can now defeat a monster they previously took a long time to defeat, but in a much shorter amount of time. That, and being able to defeat it in a cooler way. When those two coexist, I believe you can truly feel, wow, I've really progressed.
For us, the visuals change a bit, and also the efficiency. And you know, we have great area of effect attacks. The criteria for the scope of those attacks change too. We designed it so that as your skills improve, your hunting strategies and overall efficiency will evolve.
Indeed, one of the primary components of combat is boss hunting, isn't it? After looking through the comments, I noticed that quite a few people were curious about the boss patterns.
Each of the bosses has their own distinct patterns.
We aren't truly an action game, you know, since we are an MMORPG. Emphasizing too much on the action aspect of controls could make it overly challenging. Even if you have the stats, you might fail to clear it because of those conditions or face unfair situations. But we want anyone to recognize the situation when certain marks appear on the ground and think, oh, that's a dangerous mark. If you use your dodge skill at that moment to avoid it, you can evade a powerful monster skill. I think we really tried to emphasize that part.
Honestly, the act of evading what's commonly referred to as ground-based attacks isn't exclusive to YMIR. It's a technique prevalent in many MMORPG. However, we've taken it a step further. We've designed it so that various ground-based attacks and the zones to avoid can be dynamically influenced by different variables, demanding at least a minimal strategic approach to navigate them effectively.
But even this can actually be challenging for some players. So we wondered, how can we ensure everyone shares a similar experience during significant events while still allowing for easy player intervention? That was a concern, and Director Kim Sung-hee suggested a QuickTime event to me.
Yes, we were able to incorporate a QuickTime event specifically because our combat system emphasizes visible processes. This allowed us to momentarily pause the combat flow, trigger the event, and then let players actively engage in resolving it. When we actually conducted playtests, the overall feeling and experience were quite positive and well received.
Director Kim Sung-hee and I have had many discussions regarding combat. Combat is a subject that we view as highly significant, and since we are individuals who genuinely love games, I believe we had quite a long and enjoyable conversation about it.
Although there's still a lot we haven't covered regarding combat and action, I hope we've managed to answer at least some of your questions and satisfy the curiosity of our users and players. We are consistently developing combat and action sequences that stand apart from those found in existing MMORPG. I hope you'll look forward to it until we meet again. Thank you.
As important as the combat system is, it's also been incredibly challenging to implement and develop. When Legend of YMIR is finally released to the world, I sincerely hope that many of you will connect to the servers and delight in experiencing this exciting combat firsthand. We will prepare the next video carefully and hope to be back to see you all again within a short period of time. Thank you.